All right, welcome to the Coverage and Coffee podcast. My name is Kasper Harse. Joining me is Harsh Chandnani, and today we are talking about deepfakes, and we're talking about the insurance implications around that. We're talking about a couple different case studies and scenarios. Then we have some general kind of thoughts or scenarios that we kind of want to run through, not necessarily insurance related, but we'll see how much we can make this connect to insurance. How are you, Harsh?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great. We before we kind of dive in, we actually had some comments on some of our shorts. This was related to, drum roll please, the scenario I was talking about with the extended warranty and a house fire type situation, right? So we had a couple people comment and I wouldn't say accuse, but heavily suggest that what we were talking about was insurance fraud. And what the clip kind of highlighted, I don't think it wasn't the full context, right?
Yeah.
But what the clip was talking about was, let's say I purchased something from Amazon. I got a new speaker from Amazon. I got that extended warranty from Amazon. And then my house burns down. So your house insurance covers contents and your extended warranty covers the speaker. And the kind of question or discussion point at that point was, which one do you use? Can you make a claim on both? And people were very quick to point out that that would be insurance fraud. And it is insurance fraud, right? If you're purposely claiming it on both of your two policies, that is, you're benefiting twice from the same loss. That's not necessarily how it's supposed to work, right?
Mhm.
I do think that, and this is purely on a more like cultural standpoint, I guess, or I don't know, societal. I do think it's a little bit it is a situation that you could very likely do by mistake. But the question that I was more prompting in that situation is, which one do you claim it on? Not should you claim it on both? Yes, that is fraud. The answer to that question is that you should claim the speaker on your extended warranty and then not include it in your fire house insurance. The reason for that, any guesses?
The embedded insurance would be like a faster payout.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that too. That's a really good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, probably because you're only claiming a single thing, right? I'm not actually entirely sure. This whole scenario might be for nothing. I'm not sure if extended warranty, like these kinds of extended insurance, embedded insurance, actually cover something like the house. Maybe I think it's primarily. Let's say it does. But the reason why you want to put it on the extended or on that extended embedded warranty and not claim it on your house is because every insurance policy has limits, right? So if you decide to spend $250 on that speaker on your house insurance, that's $250 that may not go to something else, right? Like let's say the contents of your house is actually more than the value or the limit that you have for contents, right? Then you want to kind of make sure that the things that are important to you are not covered elsewhere. We were talking about phone insurance. If your phone burnt down, maybe call your credit card company and get your phone, insured from there. So you can then use that contents limits that you have for your house fire on other things that aren't covered in other places. That was kind of I think the direction we wanted that conversation to go in. But
Right.
yes, double claiming
Is obviously insurance fraud.
It is. But today we are talking about deepfakes. And I think deepfakes is something that's been, it's been in the cultural sphere for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a quite classic movie trope in the sense that, like, not necessarily deepfakes as we know them today, but someone transforms into someone else, or they're wearing a mask and they pretend to be someone else. I saw this clip of like a prison break where they created a perfect mold of the warden's face. And then when the warden went to go check on the guy who was getting executed, the person who was with, swapped them out, and the warden almost got executed because they had two prosthetic faces.
Did they make that in prison?
No, they made it outside of prison.
Okay.
I'm not talking like it's toothpaste and putty type thing. But yeah, no, deepfakes is something that's obviously getting way more prevalent nowadays, right? I actually, and then that's obviously to do with AI. So a deepfake is, you use an AI model on the basis of someone's face to create something that isn't true, something that they did not do, right? So you take you take the podcasts here and then you use those to create some sort of deepfake where I say something completely, I suggest insurance fraud, right? Like that was deepfake. I never did that.
Yeah, exactly.
But with AI, it's gotten like way bigger. And when we started talking about this yesterday, the first thing that actually came to mind is a Yes Theory video, right? And for those who don't know, Yes Theory is this like say yes to adventure, to cool things in your life YouTube channel. I don't watch them as much as I used to, which is a shame. I'm sure they're doing the same thing. But a couple of years ago, there was this viral clip or picture of I guess this is pre everything going the way it's going. So less important things were all of a sudden very newsworthy. But there was a picture of Justin Bieber in a park eating a burrito sideways. You didn't see that, did you?
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't until you told me about it yesterday.
Did you see it since we talked about it?
No, actually.
So
Okay.
we'll throw it on the video as well. But this is the one we're talking about, right? And it looks very much like 2017, 2019. There's probably a year here. 2018, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Right? Like that looks like him. And turns out, Yes Theory had done this prank where they found a guy who looks just like him, and they wanted to create this funny situation. And the video is not about deepfakes. This is not a deepfake as it's used today, right? In terms of using technology, using AI. But it is an interesting scenario because this is obviously something that's very humorous and funny, right? But deepfakes, we've seen them a lot recently with like, Trump, Biden, these political deepfakes, and they're very obvious.
Yeah.
But now we're having scenarios where Trump is using his own deepfakes. Like, have you seen those posts on Truth Social?
You were the one who sent it to me.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Anywho, deepfakes and losses from deepfakes is I feel like we talk a lot about growing industries, but this is a very growing loss running industry. So by 2027 or something, I think it's going to increase by like $30 billion. So right now losses add up to like $12.5 billion. By 2027, it's going to be $40 billion worth of deepfake enabled fraud losses.
Wow.
Right. And there's a lot of different scenarios for this. There was actually a study. I don't actually have the source here, so maybe when we throw it up, we'll throw the source up on the screen as well. But humans are only as accurate as 55% in identifying deepfakes. Right, so you see a deepfake video, you hear a deepfake audio clip, whatever, or a picture. You only recognize it to be deepfake 55% of the time. Yeah. Now, granted, a lot of people are stupid, and sorry, continue. You had some.
Yeah, granted, a lot of people are stupid, but on the other hand, with the rise of how good these platforms are becoming now, we have stuff like Sora AI, right? And the videos that they create or the images that they create, they are very, very lifelike. Just the other day, I remember I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this video of it was a scene of a gymnast and how she was it was just a trick that gymnasts do, and it compared Sora AI, what they created, versus the Google AI, and it just looked entirely real. The Sora AI clip, it looked entirely real. So maybe I'm not a part of that 55%, or maybe I am, but
yeah, no, I mean it's crazy. Like just the classic example is the first Will Smith spaghetti eating video.
Yeah.
Will Smith then makes a funny reaction video, right? This is when everyone was like, haha, AI, like ha ha ha. And then I saw someone made their own Will Smith video like this year, and it looked more real than the Will Smith pretending to be AI eating spaghetti video. And obviously he was, putting up an act, but it's crazy how far they've gone. And things like Sora are interesting because of the cultural impact, right? Deepfakes for a long time has been this like scary kind of concept. And then something like Sora comes out and you can see these like content creators, influencers who are volunteering, right? I think they have some sort of agreement thing that the person has to allow Sora to make specific people's faces. Otherwise it's generic or it's your own face.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing these influencers who are like really volunteering to get this, bloat content. Really, it's just shovelware, right? It's no one is going to re-look at an AI generated video in the future and be like, oh, this is my favorite clip of all time, right?
Exactly.
And it's like, anywho, Sorry,
Yeah.
did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that they just want as much content out there as possible because, you know, the more content, the more you're on top of the algorithm and your face is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and then and then from Sora's or OpenAI AI's perspective, they just want to normalize it as much as
mm,
possible, right?
yeah,
Like the more of this AI content you see out there, because I remember when it first started coming on social medias, I remember it's like, people are like, oh wait, this is AI, and people were like detecting it, right?
yeah,
But I feel like now people are just getting exhausted of doing that, right?
exactly.
There's just too much of it.
I open the comment section and people are the only comments I mostly see is I thought this was AI, or oh, is this AI? It's like just people do not know whether it is AI or not, just
Yeah,
because things are getting so much harder to believe
yeah.
because of the implementation of it.
And then the problem with that is that you're gonna get into like I forget what the specific term is, but like apathy sickness, right? You're gonna start to stop caring because you're just being constantly exposed. You're constantly thinking, and at a certain point, you just can't care anymore, right? Because here in the start, everyone's gonna be like, "Is this AI? Is this not AI?" And this kind of connects to the implications of it, right? Because when we're talking about Sora, when we're talking about these social media, these funny posts, haha, right? Like the implications of it are huge, but the consequences of those specific videos are not that big, right? Like, okay, I saw some random influencer do a cartwheel when they can't even, they
Stand
are,
up.
yeah, exactly. Um, so the first kind of scenario, so obviously this is an insurance podcast, and as we're talking about this, I'm sure you can already imagine, right? We already talked about those losses. We already talked about the fact that there are risks, there are consequences, there are things that can go wrong when we're talking about deepfakes. And the first example that we're going to talk about here is Arab engineering, right?
Mm.
So they're the ones who built designed the Sydney Opera House.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like people know this. This is a big engineering company, right? And thankfully for that, because it is big. When you search Arab engineering, the first thing will not be the deepfake. It'll be their graduate program. It'll be the news because it's a big company. But it kind of underscores the importance here that it can even happen to these big companies.
Right.
So what happened was someone in their finance team. Let me look at it here real quick before I talk too much about it. But yeah, someone who worked, who obviously had access to, and that's kind of actually before I go into that, 50% of this deepfake fraud is also social engineering, right? It's understanding who and what and why, right? If I AI generate a random dude and asks you to give me $50 million, you're not going to give me $50 million. You're just some random dude, right? Even if it is deepfake, right?
Yeah.
It's not the full part of the equation. But it's how you use this information, right? So what happened with Arab Engineering is that a guy in their finance team got invited to a conference call with
Mhm.
their CEO and multiple other staff members, right? And most people, you can sit there and you can picture you've been in a Teams meeting or a Zoom call or online class where half the people don't have their camera on and you're barely paying attention because it's not exactly the best way to interact with people. And all of a sudden you're in this call with all these important people. You know some of them quite well. They all sound the same. They all sound normal. They look normal. The guys with cameras on, they look like themselves. And they're telling you, hey, we really need to transfer some money out of the Hong Kong account, right? We need to move it over. And they were skeptical, but then they hop on a call. They're like, hey, I'm not sure. This might be, this feels like a phishing attempt. This feels, fraudulent to me. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, but let's hop on a call. We can talk about it, right? And then all of a sudden you hop on this call. There's a bunch of executives, right? Like at big firms as well. Do you know where your CEO is, right? Like if his background doesn't make sense, or like, do
Yeah.
you know he's in a meeting? You have no idea, right? He's in your meeting. And it ends up that across multiple different 15 transactions, over 200 million Hong Kong dollars, so 25 million US dollars, 20 million pounds, was sent across 15 transactions, right? So that's clearly to avoid like things being
Mm,
flagged.
yeah.
So that's that social engineering part. Like I know who the CEO is. I know which leaders that this guy needs in a call to be able to trust. I have some understanding of, their internal blockers, right? If I ask for all $25 million at once, it will be flagged automatically. Like the bank is going to call up the CFO and be like, what's good?
Mhm.
Um, so it's just crazy the size of this. And connecting this to insurance, usually when we see these big things, right? Like a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Asahi cyber attack,
Yeah.
right? Actually, do we have an? Can you search for an update on that? Actually, while I talk about this, but we see these like articles, we see these updates, right, on these large losses, right, especially from an insurance angle. Yet there is nothing about this Arab situation from an insurance angle out there,
Mhm.
which therefore heavily implies that they did not have insurance,
On
right,
it. Yeah.
on this specific type of activity, um, which makes sense. There are. Sorry, do you have an update on the
Oh
Asahi
yeah,
thing?
yeah, I do. So turns out that they restarted production as we mentioned in that episode, but they're still investigating if any personal data was stolen. So they still do not know if their personal data was leaked.
Uh,
And some of the production has resumed, but they said that the customers may still experience some shortages of Asahi products. So it's been going on for quite a while now. They're still
yeah,
looking into it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But are there any articles on this from an insurance angle? Yeah. So there are some cyber. I mean, not really. So I guess they don't really have insurance either. Like
Yeah.
this is all about cyber attacks, like generally, and that's kind of the problem when it comes to these types of things, right? There's so many different types of cyber attacks. Cyber insurance doesn't cover everything holistically. One of the things that cyber insurance actually does do is ransom payments, right? So
Mhm.
when they take your client data and they're like, hey, we want $20 million, or we're going to release this to the public and then you'll get fined $50 million, the insurance company comes in and pays that ransom. There's many, many different types of cyber insurance actually. And we'll talk about a couple here. So before we go into some of the other examples of different deepfakes situations, there are three types of insurance that could come in here and kind of support you from an insurance angle.
Right.
The first one being cyber insurance, right? So that kind of makes sense, right? Like cyber kind of, I feel like cyber insurance is kind of weirdly used a little bit in the sense that like, it feels like it's very much used as this like reach all anything technology. Cyber comes in, but cyber is one of those things you really need to read your policy because it will cover one thing and then it won't cover another thing. And then, the other part of it is that what are the limits of your cyber insurance, right?
Mhm.
So there are some cyber insurance policies out there. There's an insurance company called Coalition. They have an active cyber policy that states that artificial intelligence related security events are covered. And this also includes clawback. So that means that they'll pay you out, and if they can somehow chase that money down and get it back, they're going to keep that money to repay it. So they're kind of they're purchasing the right to chase down the money, right? So you're probably not getting as much as you have, but it says that they've
Yeah.
clawed back $31 million for policyholders in 2024. So it's clearly working. They're clearly able to do something.
Mhm.
They can be, and that's probably the only reason why they're offering it, right? They're being highlighted as one of the people who can offer it, and that's because they figured out some sort of system that yes, we can claw back some of this stuff through different means, right? Through supporting police, through certain factors, and that kind of comes into the next big part about cyber insurance, which is generally these things are actually excluded. It's going to say that these things are not covered losses, right? Let's get into, I don't know if you remember, like back on Twitter, where all of a sudden all these big Twitter accounts start posting this like, oh, we're doing a charity thing with crypto, like send money to this wallet and we'll double the donation type thing.
Yeah.
That stuff is typically not actually covered, right? So let's say someone gets access to your social media and then they make a deep fake video of you saying something,
Mhm.
right? Like I've seen these things before, like these random live streams where it's like this bobblehead Elon Musk talking about doubling your crypto money, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
those are not very good deep fakes, right? But like they exist. These problems exist. Another one here is SM and Baub Insurance. I don't actually know these guys.
Really quick before you get
Yeah.
into this, you mentioned that it doesn't cover social media risks, right? So are you talking about any policy in general, or you mean their policies wouldn't cover social media risk?
So this is just saying that most cyber policies don't cover deepfakes posted on social media causing financial losses.
Okay.
So I mean, it's such a generic thing, right? It's so hard to like, okay, what does that then cover? What does that mean, right? What scenario did the actuary at that underwriting firm come
Yeah.
up with to say we can't price that risk, right? Because that also kind of makes me think a little bit about reputational risk, right? Like it doesn't
Mhm.
even have to be your social media. Let's say someone else made a deep fake of them. You run a bakery and they made a deep fake video. They were filming in their bakery. They walked in over to the door. You stopped them, but then they made a deep fake where they actually walked past you, and it turns out that your cakes are actually dirt or whatever. Like you're just shoveling mud together and putting frosting on top, and that's what people are eating, right?
Yeah.
Not true, but that could go viral. That could give financial losses. It kind of sounds like it doesn't cover that.
Okay. I
But
mean that does make more sense. It really depends on what's written in the fine print, right?
yeah, but I think you can get some sort of reputational insurance. But I'm assuming your local bakery is not getting reputation insurance, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the last scenario here is that LSM Baobab, Baobab, Baob,
Yeah.
yeah, Baob Insurance, where they also provide coverage for these types of deepfakes, but up to 5 million euros, which is not enough for
Yeah.
this Arab engineering situation to even get more than 20% of their money back,
Mhm.
right? And that's really where we get to the problem with these types of scenarios, right? As we were talking about it, like as a team the other day, let's say that Arab engineering was not an engineering firm. Let's say it was your local bank, or let's not even say it's a local bank. Let's say it's a Morgan Stanley Hong Kong.
Okay.
They get the right guy with the right people in this meeting, and he has access to hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And they're like, hey, we got to transfer from one bank to another bank where I don't know if Morgan Stanley is the best company. Let's go with Deutsche Bank because they've been known for to do some sketchy things in the past. But let's say the finance officer hops in a conference call and they're like, "Hey, we got to avoid this regulatory fine. We got to transfer 1 million at a time, 500 times to our Swiss bank account,
Yeah.
right?" And they're like, "Yep, that makes sense. We've done that hundreds of times." Okay, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Are you sure?
Yeah. But yeah, like the consequences could be huge, and it doesn't look like any of these insurance policies will be able to cover once we start getting to that 20 million, 50 million, $100 million limit. And that's the problem with these deepfakes is
Yeah.
technically the upper end could be huge, right? But then the other side of it is like, how much are you willing to pay in premium to cover that upper end scenario, right?
Mhm.
Like, what's the chance of that happening, right? What's the chance? It's not like there was a trend of many different engineering firms in Hong Kong that got beat. Like, they planned for an attack on one specific guy and they executed on it and they got it, right?
Mhm.
I mean, maybe there were more attempts, but these articles or quotes from the Hong Kong police don't really suggest that this was some sort of like, they're trying to do this to many different places. It seems like a targeted attack.
Yeah.
Anywho, there are two other types. Oh, and that's the last thing about cyber. So these cyber insurance policies will now come with a lot of requirements, right? The same as your house insurance will require sprinklers, will require, exits,
Mhm.
windows that you can exit out of in case of a fire. Your cyber insurance is now going to come with things like mandatory multi-factor authentication, things like out-of-band authentication, or like multi-user dual sign-off things, right? Like many people have to sign off transfers, right?
Right.
Just to reduce the chance, right? Like there's one thing with, you make a fake conference call, 9 people, 1 real person. I wonder, it sounds like some sort of interesting math equation actually. How many deep fakes to how many real people in a conference call do you need, right? Because if there were 2 real people
Mhm.
and 9 deep fakes, maybe they're not going to play the role perfectly. But let's say there were 60 deep fakes and 10 people.
Yeah.
Would the 10 people get convinced by the 60? Probably.
I mean, I guess it also depends on the person, right? There could be one out of those 10 people who could be like, this is a scam, right? Or this is a phishing attack, and that could change it all for them.
Yeah. But let's say there's these 60 deepfakes. They convince those 9 real people, and the 9 real people, you start calling them deepfakes because you're like, I don't believe this stuff.
Mm.
right? Like it's really a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Anywho, so yeah, I mean, cyber insurance it's constantly changing. It's been changing a lot ever since I joined the industry. It's been changing a lot ever since AI got really, really big. I think it will have to continue to change.
Yeah.
I think cyber insurance eventually is going to be a software solution that is monitoring, right? We got Datadog, we got all these different types of monitoring softwares, but they're not really connected to insurance that way. Sometimes, like I said, there are requirements to have certain things. But I don't think that the cyber insurance underwriters are the same guys who know how, defense and attack work in a cybersecurity space,
Mhm.
right? So it's, there's a gap to bridge there in terms of how can we provide a proper product to cover these types of deepfake scenarios.
Right.
Anywho, the next type of insurance that could supposedly cover this is directors and officers. So that has to do with this, this corporate veil and the fact that, directors and officers at a company, they are representatives of the company, right? So you'll get insurance if they do something stupid, they say something stupid, it may end up impacting the company, right? Like I'm sure that there are executives out there who would fall for a deepfake because maybe they're not in the most technologically advanced industry, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like, for the most part, these things are incredibly broad or vague, and more so, there's not a single documented case of D&O insurance being successfully invoked for deepfakes.
Okay.
So what that means is, insurance, like we've said many times before, is based on a precedent system. So
Mhm.
there is no precedent right now that a D&O has actually covered a deepfake insurance. The thing about D&O insurance that is quite interesting is that typically companies don't want to trigger their D&O insurance because D&O insurance is based on culture. It's based on these very like non-tangible aspects of your risk profile that can make it really difficult to change the price of the premium that you're paying for D&O insurance. So I could also imagine a little bit there's companies that probably could have used their D&O but decided not to trigger a claim on it, so they didn't want the insurance company to pay them out for it. Maybe the damage wasn't big enough, or they'd rather do things hush hush and not get the reputational jab there. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts? Yeah.
I think you kind of answered my question in the end there. I was gonna ask you whether they don't trigger it because it could have reputational damage, and yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this statement here that there's no publicly documented cases. Also, not every single thing gets reported on publicly like this, right? Like
Yeah.
it could be a smaller claim, right? Like a $10,000 loss. I mistakenly sent a check over to a deepfake, but it's I got a max limit of 5K, so I sent 2 checks. But
Yeah.
10K versus 25 million, right? Like you can live with 10K, and then there's also deductibles and things like that, the amount you have to pay before the policy actually triggers. So maybe they just pay that and then they learn their lesson and they implement better. Some rules are written in blood, as they say. Some laws are written in blood. It's obviously isn't blood, but like they're written through
Yeah.
turmoil, they're written through conflicts. Things happen. The last one that could cover, we've talked a lot about these situations because obviously deepfakes are usually used for transferring money out, right? Like I guess theoretically, you could have a deepfake situation where you're like, you win a client, like you have a call with like someone, and then you're trying to sell something to them, a service. You deepfake their CEO to join, and you're like, look, he's on board. Like you should sign this
Okay.
contract.
I mean,
But typically, it is trying to transfer money out of the account.
yeah.
So the last kind of big one that could kind of get big is fiduciary insurance. So fiduciary has to do with the primarily retirement plans, right, and the insurance behind retirement plans, and making sure, because you have that obligation. There's that business aspect. What I found quite interesting was I'm reading here that under most 401k plans, so that's the American retirement plan system,
Yeah.
the fiduciaries, so the people who are responsible for maintaining the money, face personal liability for losses, in the sense that the company ends up being fraudulent, or like ends up being liable for it. The insurance, like the people who actually deal with your retirement plan, they don't take any liability in this, even if it was their staff who did it, which is really, really weird. But the Jason Roberts has a quote here. He's an attorney at the Fiduciary Law Center, and he says that while we've not seen a fiduciary breach via deepfake yet, it is only a matter of time, and sponsors are generally left exposed with respect to this sort of fraud, right? So there's very little that's actually built into it. Kind of a crazy concept, because you would think that but then once again, I just think that finance is so difficult to insure, right?
Yeah. You can't really put a price on it because the price itself could vary, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just, I mean, there's so many scenarios, right? We've talked about this, these small, like 10K things, the 25 million. Another scenario, this is actually an anonymized case study because it came out of UK court. So it was anonymized, but
Yeah.
apparently a director at a UK energy firm, there's not that many UK energy firms, so you could probably figure out who this guy is. But they fell for, actually, you could totally figure it out because the scenario here is that a UK energy firm director fell for a deepfake audio, so a phone call from their parent company, their boss in their parent company at their German parent company. So
Hmm.
I don't think that there's many UK energy firms with German parent companies. But
Yeah.
anywho, they lost $250,000. So that was a phone call. The guy was just like transferred to this German bank account. Like we just need, I don't even know the full scenario because it was very heavily anonymized.
Yeah.
But it can be really simple, right? Like a phone call, right? Like, I mean, you know what's even crazier? Like your boss, you talk to him a couple times a day. He just gets you at the right time. Like you know your boss is off doing something. He calls you very suddenly. He's like, "Hey, I just need this quick thing done." Right? Like maybe there's some like contextual overlap by mistake. Right? He's like, "Oh, I'm flying back. I'm flying into the UK, next week. But I need to pay this bill here because I'm not going to be here when we need to pay it. Can you just
Hmm.
transfer it now and then I'll get this sorted. I'll see you next week." Type
Hmm.
thing. Right?
Hmm.
Because it could be the company has a conference showing up, so the scammers here, they know that the boss is going to fly in from Germany, and they can add a couple truth points to this, right? It can become very real very quickly, right?
Yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, while we're in this demographic of the UK, there's also been like a really high rise in fraudulent auto claims. So people have been shallow faking images of their cars. So shallow faking compared to deepfakes is more of deepfakes use AI to alter images or videos, and shallow fakes are more, they use image editing applications to show these damages, for example, in this situation to their car, right? And funny story, actually, there was this business who actually triggered um, this insurance on their van that supposedly had a crash and their front bumper was damaged. But turns out when the insurers were looking into it, they came across their business social media page, and the picture provided to the insurers and the picture on their social media was the same, except on social media it had no damage, and it was very clear that it was edited to show.
Two things.
Yeah.
That is a crazy situation, and we'll talk more about that. The other thing is, we were looking into this topic. Not once did I think about deepfakes directly against the insurance companies. The entire time I was looking at this in terms of like how insurance plays a role in stopping deepfake losses. But
Mhm.
that's a really good point, actually. And especially when we're talking about something like auto, there's a huge amount of claims, there's a
Yeah.
huge amount of scales, right? It needs to be small enough where they're not going to send you to a specific auto shop, right?
Mhm.
Because I was also thinking, okay, you could shallow fake a bumper. I mean, that's a really stupid scenario using a public post to try to do this. Let's say you did bump the fender just a little bit,
Mhm.
and then you make it worse. So it is something did happen, but you want a slightly bigger payout,
Yeah.
right? So you make it worse. I mean, there's some scenarios you can't quite do. Oh, my house is on fire. Like they show up, your house is fine, right? Like, okay, it doesn't matter how good the deepfake is, you're not going to get away with it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also it's really really interesting that kind of customer angle, like personalized customer angle, when it comes to this deep faking, because yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so when insurers do take a look at these kind of claims, say we're talking about auto insurance right now, uh, is there no, w- okay, what is their procedure like to verify these claims?
The first thing they do is they look at the cost of claims management, right?
Okay.
Because that's why I meant if it's really really small, they may just pay it out because it's cheaper than getting a claims adjuster.
Mhm.
It's cheaper than sending you to a partnered mechanic. It's cheaper than having that mechanic make a report and then have the claims consultants look at the report, talk to the claims adjuster, do all these things, right? So if we're talking about like a 50-pound payout, right? Like, oh, the fender got bent out.
Yeah.
I need to pay a guy to put a suction cup and pull it back out, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, you send a picture, they might just pay it out immediately. They do not, they, like, it's not worth the effort, right? And this is one of the big things in claims right now is that sometimes the cost of adjusting a claim can be greater. Now, the other scenario is that they'll send a claims adjuster or they'll
Yeah.
ask for a police report, right? Let's say your car crashed very heavily. They'll ask for a police report,
Mhm.
right? Then they start to verify from all these other factors, right? Then they have like systems and questionnaires that then escalate depending on the scenario, right? So, well, they said that their car was crashed into and someone was seriously hurt, but there's no police report, there's none of this stuff, right? So at a
Yeah.
certain point, they'll then deny that claim, right? Or they'll ask for further evidence. But typically, there's that like escalating level of how do they deal with claims depending on the cost of actually maintaining that claim.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. But on the other hand, like when we're talking about this example of the van, for example, it had no injury to its body, right? But in the image that was edited, it shows that it has a bump and these scratches. But couldn't it be as simple as the insurers ask the person to either send a video, or like they could be on on like a video call or something like that, just to make the process kind of easier for the insurers so they don't have to go through to the lens that you just spoke about, but also at the same time they get to verify these risks way way more accurately.
Yeah, I mean they could. They could. You when you make an insurance claim, they ask you for proof. They have to explain everything that's happened. They ask you to upload documentation and stuff. I'm looking like bumpers, by the way. They're like £100 for a Ford Transit,
Yeah.
bumper replacement, right? So honestly, the fact that they went into it, but then it also has to do with the fact that, okay, what kind of customer is this? This is a brand new piece of insurance and all of a sudden they have a claim, right?
Mhm.
Or is this someone we've had for years and we want to maintain this business because they have a fleet of 100 vans and sure, okay, we might have to pay out a couple stupid claims here and there, but we get the business on 100 vans every single year, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like it's the whole point of claims adjusting is like, okay, we gotta like, does this story make sense? Does what they've submitted on this form actually make sense at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's it kind of depends a little bit from place to place, right? But yeah, checking their Instagram, checking their social media, their website, like at a very high level, that's kind of like basic stuff, right? Like you're a client, claim comes in, the claim adjuster looks, they get all this information about the client, they'll
Mhm.
click some links. One of them is their Instagram because we know what the client is doing, and then we check and we see the exact same photo, right? It could be as simple as that, right? Like
Yeah.
literally 30 seconds in, they realized, well, hold up, right? Yeah, I don't know about this bump here.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, when we're talking about these claims and we're talking about how they verify these claims being made, wh- what are some, what do you think are some emerging tools? It could be AI, it could be technology, it could be manual, but how do insurers actually verify these claims?
I think we can make a whole podcast on claims management because it is an incredibly interesting concept. I don't want to cut you off and,
Yeah.
and say, we, I being aware of time and how deep claims can really get and how interesting claims can really be.
Yeah.
I think within the lens of like deep fakes, I think that there are those upcoming tools in terms of AI recognition software and
Yeah.
things like that. From what I've seen, though, they don't work very well, right?
Mm.
Because the problem with AI recognition software is that output of AI ends up being like the way it really works is like a type of embedding system. So, the output of AI ends up being embedded, but the thing is that inputs of AI is also embedded. So you can upload something that was, you upload the Bible to an AI detector and it's going to say, yes, this was AI generated. Because guess what? The Bible was a part of the learning stuff that the AI knows, right? So it
Mhm.
knows this embedding chunk.
But yeah, no, my question was more related in the lens of the deepfake topic that we're talking about and how insurers could verify these claims that um, are being made using deepfakes. So
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the claims process, right? Like you go through these checkbox exercises and does it pass the sniff test
Yeah.
repeatedly, right? Like, does it pass the sniff test? If I go on their website and I look at the van, do they even have this van, right? If I look at their statements of value, is this a van they actually own, right? They send me a picture of a Volkswagen, but their SUV says for transit only,
Hmm.
right? Does make sense.
Yeah.
Or yes, they have that van. Okay, let's go in the next sniff test. Are they still driving this van? Okay, let's look online. Let's look at their odometer, right? Like, what does the mechanics report say? What does the police report? Okay, there's none of that because it's just a small fender bender, right? But that's pretty much what the claims process is. It's a long list of sniff tests that tell
Yeah.
you what direction to go in. And that's the same with this deepfake thing. I don't know if there is a solution right now in terms of, because like one thing you can imagine is that, I think some of these, do they have like payout guarantees? Some of these auto insurance payout time, 21-day rule. No, that has to do with renewals. But when you have a car claim, you don't expect it to take months, right? Like for you to get paid out like a fender bender, right? But when I'm thinking about this scenario, what really interests me is, let's say every single car owner in London decides to submit a deepfake claim at the exact same time. How many of those are going to pass? Like now the system's overwhelmed, because that's another part with AI,
Yeah.
is that it can completely overwhelm your systems, right? Um, and like you said, I mean, like that scenario, other than the fact that they left that picture on their Instagram where they used a public picture for that, that's actually a really smart way to do this fraud, in the sense, like, make it small, make it like, who cares,
Hmm.
right? Like, okay, small claim. Like, it's not a cash cow. You're not going to be able to next week, oh, same thing happened, upload the same picture, right? Like, it's not going to work like that. But
Yeah.
like, it is a really interesting, like, where is, I mean, it's the same with, like, okay, we could take it back to the bank transfer example. The finance, or the CEO says we had a deepfake fraud. Um, the money's unrecoverable. It's gone. How do you know that it was deepfake? And he didn't just afterwards be like, he made up some fake scenario, right? Like,
Mm.
he could deepfake himself and be like, oh damn, deepfake happened. Now all this money is in crypto, hiding in Mexico. We'll never find it.
Yeah.
Turns out it's his crypto wallet in Mexico, chilling with all the money, right? That's another part about, like, once we really start to think about the intricacies of this type of level of fraud, it can really go far.
Yeah. That's a crazy situation.
Yeah. We are approaching time a little bit. I did have one last scenario, which was completely unrelated to insurance, but we spoke about this a little bit, and I kind of just want to prompt this question and see what people think about this. But it's those deepfake advertisements that I was talking about, right? So picture this. I mean, there's already TVs out there that have cameras that check, how are you responding to adverts? Are you looking at the advert? I remember I saw this. I want to say Panasonic or Samsung. They made a patent for a TV system where you watch a McDonald's ad, and for the McDonald's ad to stop, you have to stand up from your couch, put your hands in the air, and say McDonald's.
No way.
Yeah, like, this is a patented system for delivering ads,
Okay.
right? That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But now imagine you're watching a McDonald's ad and it's you.
Mhm.
It's you sitting there in McDonald's eating it, and you're having the time of your life. Oh my God, it looks so good.
Yeah.
That is deepfake, right? Like, and the thing is, we're not that far from this, right? Meta's already made these like AI accounts, so you can have AI friends on Instagram or whatever. I'm sure they're using those influencers, those AI influencers, in advertising already, right? So
Yeah.
then it's the same with Snapchat, and like showing off a filter with your friend's face on it, like, or like your saved posts are being used to show off filters and things like that. We're getting really close to the fact that you're going to start seeing advertisements, right? Your cookies know your Meta account, they know your Instagram account, and they're going to start feeding you advertisements that look just like you, right? Um, and that's a whole nother part of deepfakes, right? Like, in terms of, like, there's reputational risk involved there too. Because what if they start using your face to show your friend's advertisement, right?
Mm.
And your friend has diabetes, and
Yeah.
there comes a McDonald's ad, and it's harsh there, being like, you and us, we should go to McDonald's right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And not just in advertising, but also this could be like a big thing for the entertainment industry, right? You could soon start seeing like these movie characters or TV show characters with your face on it, and you could be like the main character of the show or movie, and that's how they sell these tickets or that's how you see it on streaming services, which is really crazy to think of, that you have your face, your data, whatever you've been searching up online, just out there for the world to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's some food for thought. Let us know if you have any thoughts on that. This has been Coverage and Coffee. My name is Casper Harse.
And I'm Harsh Chandani.
And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.